All right, ladies and gentlemen, good morning on a Sunday morning. You can keep talking, guys. Sorry. It is Sunday. It is Sunday morning, and the weather is pretty crappy at the moment. We're on a hold, and I'm so honored to sit here this morning to find or force people to the table here, and we are here with actually 4 former and reigning world champions and 1 future world champion. There's Mr. B.K. Krause, reigning 8-way world champion. Solly Williams still at Magic in 2004. Mark, I don't know how many times, but reigning. Thomas, reigning. And Chris to come. Thanks, guys, for being here. And we found this morning actually an interesting topic that we discussed a little bit earlier. Lack of coffee? Yeah. Solly is desperate for coffee. Where's the coffee?
Yeah, we're out of coffee, but we're good to be here.
And complain to Rook or
To Rook, yeah, need more coffee machines. It's got up Chicago.
Okay, but actually we talked about something else, and that was exits. We've seen here different ways on exit techniques. It caught my attention when I watched airspeed, obviously, because the center inside has the count there again, or still. And I was asking Chris, first of all, how come that the center inside is doing it for airspeed, even though many other teams these days having the center outside doing the count. So, Chris, how was it?
Well, I think the dynamics of our team make it more beneficial for us to have the count coming from me on the inside. It gives me the opportunity to get an initial presentation a little bit quicker, and it allows Thomas to get his hips up just because of the dynamics of the way we're structured.
And Mark, you mentioned that airspeed has actually never been doing it differently. You've done it for like 20 years like that?
We've, I think pretty much for the whole history of all the airspeed teams that I've been on, we've always had whoever's been inside the door give the start of the count. Yeah.
What's the reasoning behind it?
I think actually the biggest argument or the reason that I think we did it was because we wanted to give as little information to the judges as we possibly can on when we're leaving the aircraft. Because if you keep it pretty stealthy and you give a count and then the team kind of just goes down and out, I think it broadcasts a little bit less. And it might. The argument is, and I think it's a pretty, it could go either way. You might give a little bit less information, maybe a later start to the clock, possibly. But honestly, I think more than that, it's more just what people like, what people are used to.
The discussion became even more interesting when Solly Williams, desperate for coffee, joined the conversation, or actually I forced him into the conversation. Sorry for that. Because he is from the South African school, which has created the most famous Mantis and other special, really valuable techniques for skydiving and 4-way, 8-way competition. And Solly, you've been doing it and coaching it differently. How did it come to that?
Well, I think over history in the sport, there's definitely a trickle effect from the top down. And when I was on the South African team as inside center, we were copying the best teams out there, which was airspeed, and so we gave the count from the inside as well. We were trying to emulate. It was Dan BC was giving the count from the inside, so we always thought that just copy the best, and if you got as good as them, then maybe start changing things or whatever. So I think very much you've nailed it on the head. It depends on the structure of the team and what the team's needs are. Sizes of people is important, how sort of tall or how strong the outside center is. In Europe, they have a slightly different system because most of them are floating a front floater off, so I think most of the counts in Europe come from the outside, if I'm correct. I'm not sure. But I think it clearly works both ways. I mean, I'm sitting amongst the world champions here. They have the count from the inside. Magic won a world championship with the count coming from the outside. When I was on tail on Magic, I felt like I could have given most of the counts on tail because I felt like I slightly laid off things just a little bit. So, in fact, I did on something like an 18. We had the count come from the tail, but I buy into the idea of trying to buy yourself a tenth or two on the start frame for the judges. So I think most importantly, the message that should go out there is you got to work out what's best for your team. And there's merit to the count coming from the inside, and that's the person that's almost feeling the most relaxed in the door, most composed. You're not using any physical exertion. So I mean, I can buy into both concepts very easily.
Oh, thanks, Solly. Well, we have one of those famous center outside here, maybe the most current and best center outside at the moment, Thomas. And his center inside, Chris. Can you discuss it between the two of you, why you're doing what and how?
We have the count on the inside, and quite simply because for us and the way our exits are structured, we try to get as much angle as we can on certain things. So I'll use a 21 for example. We try to get Chris as far underneath me as possible, and what that does, it creates my pivot point really low, and it makes it real easy for me to get my hips up on top of him. And it's not all the exits that we try to do that, but definitely a vast majority of them, just to counter the rotation out of the plane and try to make sure our exit is coming up to where we want. And then we also consider where the exit, say if we spin through the 21, where that 21 finishes as well, because obviously our next random is going to be important. So it varies by exit, but we mostly try to get as much angle as we can, and with that trying to get Chris as low as we can underneath me and me as high as I can on top of Chris.
Are you coaching this technique too? Because when I'm trying to tell people do it like Thomas Hughes is doing it, then they all funnel.
Yeah, it depends on the team. It depends on the team and the group. And like Solly said and Mark said, I mean, if the team is working really well with the outside count, then of course don't change it. But if it's not working, then it's definitely worth looking into some options.
Anyhow, I'm just saying that because there's nobody else who gets his left knee up as well as you do. Anyhow, BK, how is Paraclete XP doing it?
It's good. It's good. We started out kind of rough, and we're trying to get some momentum. But I'm having a good time. I'm in a new slot, and
what's your slot?
I'm in the tail now. All my four-way for the years have been in the point, outside center, and now I'm on the tail. So I'm just trying to hold on.
Who is counting for you?
Kirk. Yeah, Paraclete does pretty much, the airspeed way of coming from the count coming from the inside, which is kind of new to me. When I did four-way over the years, we had a mix. We started out with the outside to inside, and then my most recent four-way team back in, I guess it was 2010, a lot of the counts came from the outside. So it's, just being on the tail is tricky enough anyhow. I'm trying to read it, know when to leave, so I have my hands full right now.
All right, well, gentlemen, thank you very much. That was, I think we have a lot of stuff for discussion out now for the teams here, and I appreciate that. And I guess we are still on a weather hold, but go and get your coffees now. Thanks.